Gilbert Adams, a native of Wadley and graduate of Wadley High School. Adams spent 2 years at Southern Union Junior College before entering World War II military service in 1942. Following his discharge in 1945, Adams completed his undergraduate education at Jacksonville State Teachers College, graduating in December 1947. When Oxford coach Bill Finch resigned at the end of the fall semester, Adams was hired as his replacement and immediately took over the basketball program. When school resumed in January 1948, Oxford downed Alexandria 36-32 on the road in Adams' first game as coach. Unseeded in the Big School's 6th District tournament that year, Oxford reached the quarterfinals before losing to number 4 Gadsden. The following season, Adams' Yellow Jackets were 6th District runner-up and earned the first of 4 trips to the state tournament in his 13 seasons as head basketball coach. In 1951, 1952, and 1955, Oxford won the 6th District tournament and advanced to the state tournament each year. The 1951-52 Oxford team won 3 consecutive games, the third a 58-54 victory over Alexandria to claim the championship of the inaugural Calhoun County basketball tournament. The Yellow Jackets were Calhoun County tournament champions again in 1955 and 1956. In 1960, Adams' final year as coach, Oxford was runner-up to Alexandria in the county tournament. That same year, Oxford was the number 3 seed in the 6th District tournament and waltzed to number 2 Alexandria in the semifinal round before winning the consolation game and finishing 23-5. It took Adams a little longer to achieve in football the degree of success his basketball teams enjoyed immediately. His most successful football teams came in 1955 and 1956. In 1955, Oxford was 7-1-1 in the regular season, losing to Jacksonville 13-12 in Oxford's second game and tying mighty Anniston 7-7 4 games later. In the Turkey Bowl charity game that year, the Yellow Jackets avenged their lone defeat with a 33-7 win over Jacksonville. The 1956 football team went 8-1 in the regular season, losing only to Anniston. The Yellow Jackets ended their regular season schedule with a 21-6 win over Alexandria to earn the school's first Calhoun County football championship. 6 days later, Oxford defeated Alexandria 13-0 for its second consecutive Turkey Bowl crown. In 1959, Adams led Oxford to a 6-3 record after a winless season in 1958. He was named Calhoun County Football Coach of the Year by his peers in his final season as head football coach. At the close of the 1959-60 school year, Adams left Oxford and never coached again. He became diversified occupations teacher at Anniston High, a position he still held when he died unexpectedly in June 1966 at age 45. Gilbert was the type of man every father would want his son to play for, former player Chuck Miller said at the time of his death. While Adams gave up coaching, he continued to help players from schools throughout Calhoun County secure college scholarships. I guess that was his #1 project after he quit coaching. It seemed he was always working on a scholarship for some boy. Then Anniston head football coach Bill Rutherford said, if scholarships weren't available, Adams was known to help students out of his own pocket. He was too busy giving it away to ever become wealthy. Friend and former Auburn assistant football coach Dick McGowan said a few months after Adams' death when Anniston High created a scholarship for vocational students in his honor. In 1976, 10 years after Adams' death, in an interview conducted during the 25th Calhoun County basketball tournament, Malcolm Street Sr. was asked by then Anniston Star sports editor George Smith to name the county's top 5 basketball coaches in his 35 years of observing the sport. No question in my mind about #1 there. It was Gilbert Adams down at Oxford. We've never had a match for him, Street said. Jack Grizzard. A native of Oxford, Grizzard began playing football at Calhoun County High School, the official name of the high school in Oxford originally, as an 8th grader. He became a 3-year starter for the Yellow Jackets at guard on offense and nose guard on defense. As a junior in 1947, he was 3rd team All-Calhoun County. In 1948, Grizzard was Oxford's captain and was a first-team All-County selection. Prior to his graduation in the spring of 1949, Grizzard received the award as the Outstanding Athlete at Oxford. After completing high school, Grizzard attended Howard College, now Samford University, on a football scholarship. He then spent 2 years in military service. Grizzard enrolled at Jacksonville State after receiving his military discharge and lettered in football in 1953 and 1954. While completing his degree at Jacksonville State, Grizzard helped Gilbert Adams, who had taken over as head football coach at Oxford in Grizzard's senior season, as a volunteer. After graduation, Adams soon found a way to hire Grizzard as an assistant. When Adams resigned at the close of the 1959-60 school year, Grizzard followed him as Oxford's head football coach. As head coach at Oxford, Grizzard had many outstanding athletes and a number of successful teams. His 1960 team claimed the Calhoun County Championship before losing to Piedmont in a rematch in the Turkey Bowl. In 1966, Oxford tied favorite Welborn in the county championship game. And in 1968, the Yellow Jackets defeated Cobb Avenue of Anniston in the title game. In Oxford, he will always be revered for the success he enjoyed against Anniston, then Oxford's bitter rival. In the second game of the 1962 season, Oxford traveled to Anniston and defeated the Bulldogs 13-7. No Oxford team had beaten Anniston in football since the Yellow Jackets won the first meeting between the two neighbors in 1920. The Birmingham Post-Herald named Grizzard its statewide Coach of the Week. Almost immediately, work began to raise the money necessary to build a new home grandstand at Lamar Field. Grizzard was selected by his peers as Calhoun County's Coach of the Year. Grizzard's Oxford teams continued to enjoy success against Anniston. Over his final 9 seasons as head coach at Oxford, the Yellow Jackets were 7-2 against the Bulldogs. Late in the 1966 season, the expansion of Lamar Field had been completed, but the new seats did not arrive in time for Oxford to host Anniston as originally planned. Grizzard continued to lobby for the game to be played in Oxford every other year. In 1968, Anniston came to Oxford for the first time, and the Yellow Jackets won 19-0 to open their season. Grizzard continued to coach through the 1970 season. He resigned his football position, but continued to work with students. Norwood Hodges. A native of Hueytown, Hodges attracted the attention of both Auburn and Alabama football coaches as a junior fullback when he helped his Hueytown Gophers to a 1-loss season and was named to the Birmingham News Birmingham Age Herald second-team All-State team. At that time, all classifications competed for one All-State team, with 11 players making first team and 11 making second team. Neither Alabama nor Auburn had fielded a football team in 1943, and each school was actively recruiting high school underclassmen, promising to allow them to earn the credits needed for a high school diploma while in college. Hodges initially leaned toward Auburn, but chose to accept Alabama coach Frank Thomas' offer when Woodlawn's Harry Gilmer chose the Crimson Tide. At Alabama, Hodges lettered in football as a fullback and linebacker for 4 years, from 1944 through 47. In 1944, Hodges played his first season at Alabama in what should have been his senior year in high school. Alabama was 5-1-2 in the regular season, tying favored LSU 27-27 in Baton Rouge to start the season, and Tennessee 0-0 in Knoxville in the Tide's fourth contest. Alabama's reward was a trip to the 1945 Sugar Bowl, where Duke, bolstered by naval trainees, edged Alabama 29-26 on a touchdown late in the fourth quarter. Hodges scored Alabama's first 2 touchdowns on 1-yard runs as his team took a 12-7 lead after 1 quarter. In the 1945 season, Alabama captured the Southeastern Conference Championship with a 6-0 conference record. The 6 SEC wins came against LSU 26-7, Tennessee 25-7, Georgia 28-14, Kentucky 60-19, Vanderbilt 71-0, and Mississippi State 55-13 on homecoming. A 9-0 regular season earned Alabama an invitation to the 1946 Rose Bowl. Hodges scored on another 1-yard run as Alabama downed Southern California 34-14. By Hodges' junior season, Coach Thomas referred to him as the best linebacker he had coached since Johnny Kane, an Alabama All-America in 1932. Alabama was 7-4 in 1946, the final year that Thomas served as head coach. Harold "Red" Drew became Alabama's head coach in Hodges' senior year. An 8-2 regular season earned another trip to the Sugar Bowl, where Alabama lost to Texas to finish the 1947 season 8-3. Hodges was a student assistant coach for the Alabama freshman team in 1948 and 1949 while finishing his degree in education. He became head coach at A.G. Parish High School in Selma in 1950. His first parish team was 5-5. In 1951, the Rams were 6-3-1 and avenged losses to Tuscaloosa, Valley, and Chilton County of Clanton along the way. The tie was a scoreless affair against Anniston. In 1952, Hodges coached A.G. Parish to a 21-13 win over Anniston and a second consecutive win over perennially powerful Tuscaloosa, and his team was 4-5-1 overall. After 3 seasons at Parish, Hodges left coaching for good. He began a career in the automobile business in Selma and moved his family to Anniston in 1956. He became a Volkswagen dealer in 1961, and 25 years later, Time magazine named his business one of the top 25 auto dealerships in the United States. Hodges was active in the United Way, Chamber of Commerce, Alabama Alumni Association, and Anniston Quarterback Club. During his 10 years on the Anniston City Board of Education and 2 terms as mayor of Anniston, he was an ardent supporter of high school sports and youth sports programs. Anniston was designated an All-America City during his time as mayor. The Anniston Star named him its Citizen of the Year for 1991. Hodges was born December 7, 1926, and died November 27, 1999. Charlie Munford. Munford was a 3-year letterman in football for Coach Robert Mosby's 1958, 1959, and 1960 teams at Cobb Avenue. In his junior and senior seasons, he was the primary target in Cobb's passing attack as a wide receiver. In 1959, Munford caught 2 scoring passes as Cobb Avenue defeated Council of Huntsville 20-14 on the road. The following week, he had a 15-yard touchdown reception in a 33-0 win over Calhoun County Training School. After Cobb's 7-0 homecoming win over Booker T. Washington of Montgomery, Munford was cited by his coach for his outstanding play on defense. The Panthers finished the 1959 season 8-1-1. His role as a defensive stalwart and an always dangerous pass catcher continued his senior season. He caught a 5-yard touchdown pass as Cobb opened its season with a 21-6 win over George W. Carver in Montgomery. In Cobb's 27-0 win over Carver of Gadsden the next week, Munford scored an extra point on a pass reception and was praised publicly for his work on defense. Cobb defeated Ullman of Birmingham 20-6 in the Panthers' third game, and touchdown catches by Munford accounted for 2 of his team's 3 scores. Again, he received high marks for his defense. In the Panthers' 26-0 victory over Laurel in Alexander City, their 4th consecutive win, Munford's 20-yard scoring reception gave Cobb its 6-0 halftime lead. The Panthers improved to 6-0 with a 19-0 win over Calhoun County Training. Again, Cobb led 6-0 at the half on a touchdown grab by Munford. This one covered 28 yards in the second quarter. He was praised for his defense in a 32-7 win over East Highland of Sylacauga and a 33-0 victory over Westside of Talladega. He also scored once against Westside. With its 9-0 start, Cobb Avenue claimed the Northeast Alabama Interscholastic Championship. A loss to Booker T. Washington in Montgomery in the final game of the year spoiled a perfect season. Munford lettered at guard for 3 years on Cobb Avenue's basketball teams and led the conference in scoring as a junior. He was an all-conference selection for both football and basketball during his high school career. Following his graduation from Cobb Avenue in 1961, Munford played football and basketball for Miles College for 4 years. As a freshman for legendary Miles coach T.J. Mule Knox, he terrorized Miles football opponents on both offense and defense. He caught 55 passes, including 9 for touchdowns, intercepted opponents 16 times, and averaged almost 50 yards a kick on 31 punts. His exploits in Miles earned him induction into the Miles College Sports Hall of Fame in 1996. In 2000, his alma mater named Munford its Miles College Athlete of the Century. After finishing at Miles, Munford spent most of his adult life in New York State, working with children with emotional issues as a mental health counselor and recreational therapist before retiring and returning to Anniston. Sergeant Prickett. A Calhoun County native, Prickett was a backfield star at both quarterback and halfback and a devastating linebacker on Coach Lou Scales' Alexandria teams of 1949 and 1950 that returned the Valley Cubs to football prominence. As a junior, Prickett was at his best when his team needed him most. Alexandria was 1-2-1 after its first 4 games and trailed Munford 6-0 before Prickett scored on a 40-yard run in the third quarter, and the game ended in a 6-6 deadlock. The following week, Prickett started Alexandria on a 5-game winning streak when he scored 3 touchdowns and 1 extra point, accounting for all of the Valley Cubs points in a 19-7 win at Childersburg. A 19-6 win at Jacksonville pushed Alexandria to 3-2-2 on the season. Prickett rushed for 74 yards in the first half, including a 16-yard touchdown run, and added 27 yards on the ground in the second half. A series of long runs by Prickett sparked the Cubs to a 33-0 win over Piedmont and a 5-2-2 worksheet. A fractured ankle suffered in the first quarter kept Prickett sidelined in most of Alexandria's season-ending 14-0 win over Glencoe. For his play on both offense and defense, Prickett was voted to the coach's All-Calhoun County team as a first-team selection. He was also named third-team All-State by the Birmingham News Birmingham Age-Herald. The team included all schools regardless of size, and just 11 players made each of the 3 teams. Alexandria played its home games at Anniston's Memorial Stadium in 1950. The Cubs opened the season with a 61-0 win over Ranburg. Reserve saw most of the action. Despite playing sparingly, Prickett scored when he took a cross buck 40 yards. After the Valley Cubs upped their record to 2-0 with a 30-13 win at Ohatchee, Prickett scored on runs of 95 yards and 40 yards as Alexandria downed Munford for a 47-19 road win. Alexandria improved to 4-0 with a 34-18 win over Childersburg as Prickett scored on runs of 35, 46, and 23 yards. In a 26-19 win over Cleburne County, Prickett's 100-yard kick return gave Alexandria a 13-12 lead, and his 21-yard touchdown pass completion provided needed insurance. The Cubs followed with a 45-0 win over Jacksonville, in which Prickett ran 44 yards for 1 touchdown and completed a 50-yard touchdown pass. In his final high school game, Alexandria upset Anniston 20-12, and Prickett rushed for all 3 touchdowns. It was the first time a Calhoun County team had defeated Anniston since the 1920 season. The Valley Cubs finished 8-0, Alexandria's first undefeated and untied team. Prickett was first-team All-County in 1950 and the only unanimous pick. He was named first-team All-State after his senior season. In 1950, Prickett was named to the National High School All-America football team selected by the Wigwam Wise Men of America, that era's equivalent of today's Parade All-America status. He was also a member of the North Squad for the annual AHSAA North-South All-Star Game in Tuscaloosa's Denny Stadium in August. His former teammates consider Prickett Calhoun County's finest football player of his era. He called the signals on the field, and his ability to read defenses was a key in Alexandria's victory over Anniston. Those same teammates also remember his work ethic and humility about his athletic accomplishments. He accepted a football scholarship to Georgia Tech but stayed just 2 quarters before returning to Alexandria and joining the military. Prickett was born October 21, 1932, and died August 7, 1965, at age 32. Mike Tucker. Tucker was a 4-sport athlete at Alexandria from the fall of 1970 through the spring of 1973. As a senior in the 1972 football season, he moved from halfback to quarterback and helped the Valley Cubs to a 9-1 regular season record. Alexandria was the 7th of 8 teams to qualify for the Class 2A playoffs that year under a point system established by the AHSAA. The underdog Valley Cubs defeated Lauderdale County in the quarterfinals before losing to eventual state champion Aniana in the semifinal round. It was Alexandria's first playoff appearance. Tucker was first-team All-County at quarterback for small schools as a senior. He was honorable mention on the Birmingham News Class 1A-2A All-State team. In basketball, Tucker was All-Calhoun County Tournament in the small school division in 1973. He was also All-Area and played in the AHSAA North-South Basketball All-Star Game in Tuscaloosa that summer. Tucker also lettered 3 years in both baseball and track while at Alexandria. He dreamed of playing collegiate football on a big stage, especially at the University of Alabama. But 163-pound quarterbacks weren't high on Alabama football coach Paul Bryant's recruiting list that year. Tucker received football and basketball scholarship offers from Marion Military Institute. After graduating from Alexandria in 1973, he spent 1 year at Marion Institute, lettering in football, basketball, and track. In the spring of 1974, Marion Institute unexpectedly announced it would no longer field a football team. University of Alabama assistant coach Curly Hallman saw Tucker run in a track meet and offered him a football scholarship, an offer he immediately accepted. In the fall of 1974, he transferred to Alabama and redshirted for 1 year. At Alabama, Tucker lettered in 1975, 1976, and 1977 at cornerback. He led the team in interceptions in both 1976 and 1977. In 1977, his senior season, he was second-team All-Southeastern Conference and academic All-SEC. That season, Tucker led Alabama in passes broken up and was the leading tackler among players in the secondary. Tucker was at his best in big games. As a junior, he caused the second quarter fumble that led to Alabama's first touchdown in what became a 38-7 win over Auburn. He also had 2 interceptions that day. Early in his senior season, Alabama was clinging to a 7-3 third quarter lead over Southern California, but the Trojans had the ball on the Crimson Tide 1-yard line on third down. The handoff went to Charles White, who would become a 2-time All-American, and Tucker tackled White for a 5-yard loss. USC settled for a field goal on the next play, and Alabama eventually won 21-20. He played on SEC championship teams in 1975 and 1977. In Tucker's years at Alabama, the Crimson Tide won 3 bowl games. In 1975, the team was 11-1, including a 13-6 win over Penn State on December 31st, 1975 in the Sugar Bowl. In 1976, Alabama was 9-3. The wins included a 36-6 victory over UCLA in the Liberty Bowl on December 20th, 1976. The 1977 team was 11-1 and defeated Ohio State 35-6 in the Sugar Bowl on January 2nd, 1978. Tucker and Ozzie Newsome were the permanent captains for the 1977 team. Tucker for the defense and Newsome for the offense. In the spring of 1978, the Alexandria Civitan Club honored Tucker with Mike Tucker Day. Alabama football coach Paul Bryant described Tucker in an interview with the Anniston Star, quote, "He was a team man, unselfish, and a terrific player. He's not very large in stature, but bigness is in the heart, and he's got plenty of that." Bryant also wrote a letter to be read at the event. In part, Bryant said, "Mike wasn't a particularly gifted athlete as far as raw ability, but he had those intangibles you cannot see until you watch him practice and play. He was always ready to practice, gave 100% concentration and effort, and he truly made himself a good player by his dedication and sacrifice to football and to being a team player. Perhaps the greatest tribute that can be paid an Alabama player is to be elected captain by his teammates. And as we all know, Mike was named defensive captain of the 1977 Crimson Tide team. This, I feel, says what his teammates thought of him and his contributions. After noting Tucker's willingness to play even when he was injured, Bryant added, "Mike, thanks for making me a better coach."